My name is Levi Longfellow Rochester III, and I am a psychic clairvoyant. I've been in active training since approximately 1975. A couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, an energy form came to me. That's not what I called it at the time. You understand, this is a deeply intimate and personal experience, and I wasn't altogether sure how to take it when this intelligence arrived into my life. Since that time, many activities have transpired in dealing with this entity. A lot of good has come from it, and if the result had not been excellent or superior somehow, then I wouldn't have continued my work with this entity. Today, this entity is internationally known. I have to admit that I'm greatly humbled working with this intelligence that describes itself as simply a non-physical, psychological intelligence. It's been a deeply moving and personal experience for me, one that I try constantly to be objective about. The purpose of this video today is to try to capture on film, on tape, some of the changes that take place when I move into an alternate state of consciousness. It's my hope that this video will capture some observable visual results that may give outsiders an insight into what Americans call the field of channeling and what I call 12-dimensional clairvoyance. What you are fixing to see now is real. At least to me, on a conscious level, it's not an act. All that I know is that I go somewhere. Where is perhaps ill-defined. Perhaps it's not a place at all, in usual terms. As a professional clairvoyant, I have found the assistance that this entity has given to others profound, deeply insightful, far beyond my capacities and my limited intelligence. So in this particular instance, I'm going to have to ask you to be the judge as to what you see. And if you feel that the information this entity brings forth is valuable, if nothing else, it could possibly indicate the survival of the human personality after death. It certainly indicates something mysterious going on that maybe there are no scientific explanations for. And so now, already, I am beginning to move into that special space that I slide into. And I feel its energy, its essence around me. It's difficult to explain. You almost have to experience it firsthand. It's like surrendering and giving up to a cosmic force much larger than yourself. Sometimes, as I drift under, I begin to perceive thoughts that are not my own. It's as if my mind mingles with the thoughts of another person or entity. I don't know quite how to explain this, but they just feel different. It's very real and tangible to me. Sometimes I'll just begin to repeat these thoughts. And then before I know it, I wake up. And my friends and clients tell me something most remarkable has occurred. I realize not to outside observers. The event being captured on celluloid may seem unusual, but it is only unusual to you because you are unfamiliar with such transactions and interactions. The version of me that you see before you is not the sum total of my existence. I exist in realities and dimensions of life that to the majority of my listeners and watchers would be perceived as highly alien. I have said before that I do not take over my psychic's body. It is an interaction between the both of us. A voluntary giving in on his part of absolute receptivity, in which there is no concern as to the nature or quality of the material that will be delivered in these communications. As a species, you communicate through sound patterns that you call words. Symbolic traditions of communication that serve you well but also limit your understanding when your mind becomes trapped within their flux. Those of you that are naturally more sensitive or intuitively endowed will perceive my essence coming through onto this celluloid film. Those of you who are not so well endowed will simply see an image and hear a voice before you. Depth perception, then, shall have to be one of the topics that this communication is about. Depth perception and self-manifestation in your plane of tangibles, in the physical world that you experience almost exclusively through your physical forms and its sensory apparatus. My concern as an educator in the planes of existence with which my personal energy intersects is in fact to help develop the natural depths of perception inherent within the living entities and organisms which inhabit or occupy such planes of life. The body that you have now is only one such body that you will possess. And after physical death, you will possess yet another form. One that exists in dimensions of space and light and sound that are almost the inverse or reverse correlates of the sensory experiences that feed information into your corporeal physical brain. My concern is always to enrich your observations, to assist you in assisting yourself. The occult version of the self-help movement is where you get information directly through developing your own higher sensory organs, psychological sensory organs, that have capacities of depth perception that the physical body on its own does not necessarily natively actively employ in accumulating and receiving and transmitting perceptions from the physical environment and the social world that surrounds you at all times. So it becomes necessary for me to dip into fields of knowledge and information, into the intangible realms from your perspective, to try to build a scenario that you can relate to from your general holistic level of perceptions and memory. Perception is intimately bound with success and personal achievement. Sharp, clear perception allows you to see the world around you in a non-clouded fashion, so that your value judgments and your thought processes are more efficient and effective, ensuring not only your physical survival, as it should continue on the earthly material plane, but also levels of pleasure and reward virtually non-comprehensible to you before such an awakening occurs. So my concern is to educate you on how to get in touch with these levels of perception and cognition and a realization that would allow you to experience greater happiness, a more robust expression and externalization, a greater thrust of personal power into all of your activities, and to free yourselves from inhibitions that can block your progress and interfere in a more harmonious attunement to the larger dimensional realities that surround you at every conceivable angle, even to those angles far beyond the capacities of your current conceptions and perceptive capacities. Perception and success is necessary for correct timing in all of your activities. All of you have experienced personal events in your private lives in which you had a funny feeling that things would not turn out the way that you had consciously visualized or conceived that they should. And more than once, this feeling was validated by the physical occurrences that followed. This is one instance in which the instinct and the intuition are triggered into activity by subliminal stimulus patterns, those that usually you do not pay much attention to because your society and your culture either forbids it, ignores it, discourages it, or denies that such capacities exist. The first step to genuine self-realization and greater levels of happiness and zest and power in your personal experience, then, is to admit and to feel safe in admitting that perhaps other realities exist around you right before your eyes that you are not seeing and looking at. Realities that a few supposedly gifted individuals have been blessed to perceive, or alternately cursed to perceive, depending on your point of view, throughout man's evolution. The simple admittance that there may indeed be alternative realities around you with coherent life forms and essences in them is the first step toward opening and expanding your mind and enriching your emotional horizons, so that every moment of your physical existence is more full-bodied. You are more actively involved in all that occurs within you and around you, but with a sense of perspective that allows you to get through the hard times in your personal experience and allows you to change bad times into good. Times where there are greater levels of pleasure, more pleasure, happiness, emotional buoyancy and fortitude. A gracefulness begins to permeate all of your dealings with others of your race and your species. Your relationships can become more fulfilling and you change your relationships to those around you, all by listening to the inner voice. It is not actually a voice, except for in special cases in which certain individuals may be clairvoyant by nature, depending on genetics and special spiritual capabilities and attributes that you bring with you to your world from other, more ethereal types of dimensions. If you simply pause and reflect for a moment, perhaps shutting your eyes, or gazing at a beautiful sunset, and you are taken in awe beyond yourself into a state of emotional peace, and you ask yourself questions about your life, emotions automatically arise from within you. Many emotions that sometimes are turbulent in character. Sometimes many voices speak within you at once, and you do not know which one to follow. So I am here to show you how to have greater success in your life through the power of personal application, suggestion, and concentration, and by listening to your intuition, sharpening and expanding the depth, quality, and precise ranges of perception involved in intuitive processes as they are experienced in a level that is meaningful and significant to you. There is not a technique that is applicable to everybody. Just like there is not one doctor that is good for all, and there is not one religion that is good for all people. There is not one diet. Vegetarianism is not right for all to be healthy. Some require meat. So, how do you personally tailor a developmental methodology, a system that has a natural flux and a flow in movement and progressive stages of cyclical development without losing yourself? A personal system of evolution that can accelerate your insights into life's most intense and personal issues.
Mystic Broadcast Network. Tune in to the Mystic Broadcast of oneness emanating from every point in the universe.